You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith.
Greetings, young Squire Sprouts. Today is the 19th day in the 8th month in the year of our Lord 2023. My name is Sir Roland Paterlaw, and you're listening to Saturdays with Sir Roland on Catholic Sprouts, where every Saturday we discuss the art of dragon slaying. Today's the feast of St. John Eudes, a priest of the 1600s who was a gifted preacher and best known for promoting Jesus as the source of holiness. Mary is the model of the Christian life, and a devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Immaculate Heart of Mary is great paths to heaven. Last week, we had a discussion on the importance of prayer and slaying a dragon. We talked about how we can pray to slay and use the word slay to pray. Slay is the acronym we used when facing a difficult situation or a dragon, like Jesus in the agony of the garden. The S stands for share. Share your burden with others by asking others to pray for you. The L stands for let. Let God know the situation and your thoughts, fears, and feelings. The A stands for ask. Ask God to resolve the situation in the way you want Him to. And the Y stands for yoke. In the end, yoke your will to His will and tell God that you desire His will to be done, even if it is different than your plan. Ask Him to make your one desire be to do His most holy will. And that brings us to our topic for today, which is fire. We have briefly mentioned dragon fire in our training, but today I'd like to delve deeper into the topic of fire and what it can teach us about dragon slaying. Fire is such an amazing thing, and in many ways it represents how your free will can be used for good or evil. We all have a choice. We can say, my will be done, or thy will be done. The most important part of the slay to pray acronym is to yoke your will to God's will. This is really the goal, to conform our free will to God's will. This is the formula to becoming a great saint and a great dragon slayer. So what does our free will have to do with fire? Great question, young squires. Dragon slaying is a battle of the will. In choosing God's will over our own, we are seeking the good, the true, and the beautiful. Dragons, as you know from your extensive training, represent a corruption of the good, the true, and the beautiful into something evil, false, and ugly. I like using fire as an example of how this corruption can occur. Dragon fire is a corruption of the goodness, beauty, and truth of real fire. Fire is one of the very few things that I would say is one of my favorite things in all 5 human senses. The 5 human senses are to see, to touch, to taste, to hear, and to smell. There's many things that I really like to experience with 1 or 2 of my senses. For example, I love watching the sun rise and set. I love seeing that experience, but I can't hear it or taste it or smell it. I love the smell and feel of sacred chrism oil, but it isn't my favorite sound or taste. Fire is one of only 2 things that I can think of right now that is one of my favorite things in all 5 senses. The other is my beautiful wife, of course. Her smile is my favorite sight to see, and the sound of her laugh gives me so much joy that I work hard on dad jokes that are so funny that even she laughs at them. I love the touch of holding her hand. I love the taste of pretty much all the food she makes because she's the best cook ever, and I love the smell of her perfume. In a similar way, I think fire is one of the most intriguing things to watch. Have you ever sat around a fireplace or a campfire and just watched the flames dance? There's orange and red and yellow and even blue flames. There could even be green or other colors if there's a chemical such as copper in the fire. It reminds me of our training on the 7 deadly dragons, with each color revealing something about the nature of the fire. A blue flame burns hottest, reminding me of the wrath of a blue dragon. Fire is also one of my favorite smells, or at least wood burning on a fire. The nostalgic smell of burning wood from a chimney into the cold, crisp winter air brings me back to my childhood. We had a wood-burning fireplace, and it was my favorite part of our little house. Not only did I love watching the flames and smelling the wood burn, I loved sitting close to the fire on a cold winter morning or evening. I never liked being cold, but I still like winter because of the joy of getting warm when it's cold outside, especially from sitting next to a fire. And while I would sit by that fire to get warm and watch the flames and smell the wood, I would listen to the crackle of the fire. It is the perfect sound to help me relax and feel at peace. It invokes serenity of the soul. As for taste, no, I didn't try to eat the fire, if that's what you're thinking. But my favorite foods, besides the food my wife makes for me, of course, is food cooked over a fire, especially steak. Yum. There's so much goodness and beauty and truth that comes from fire. But you and I both know that fire can destroy. Fire is powerful, and with great power comes great responsibility. It requires much discipline and work to start and maintain a safe fire. You have to chop the wood and stack it. You have to patiently wait for the fire to start in a fireplace or fire ring or some controlled environment. You have to watch it and tend to it and feed it just enough to keep it going strong but not out of control. If you're not responsible and just haphazardly burn unsafe materials in an unsafe environment and just let it run wild, it will cause immense chaos and destruction. It will go from being good and true and beautiful to being evil, false, and ugly very quickly. Many people have lost countless possessions and lives because of out-of-control fires. It can be extremely dangerous. The black smoke from a forest fire or a home burning is truly an awful sight. The loud sound of a fire exploding is a deafening and disturbing sound, like the fury of a storm or a blue dragon. The smell and taste of food that is burnt, like toast, can produce an aroma and smoke that can make you gag. Too much fire can ruin many foods, like a juicy steak that is overcooked. And if you've ever experienced getting burned by fire, you know that it is excruciatingly painful. We all know the phrase, don't play with fire, you'll get burned. Or maybe it was, don't play with fire or you'll wet the bed. But either way, bad things happen when we don't respect the awesome power of fire. Your free will is exactly the same way. Free will gives us the power to choose love or hate. It gives us the power to choose holiness or evil, to choose virtue or vice, to choose the power to do immense good in the world or immense harm. Gives us the power to become great saints or terrible sinners, the power to cooperate with God's grace or cooperate with the lies of dragons and their wretched life-destroying fire. Gives us the power to be children of light, like a well-lit flame, or darkness, like a thick black smoke. Gives us the power to choose eternal happiness with God or eternal misery with dragons. Choose wisely. With great power comes great responsibility. This week, I challenge you to sit around a fire if you're able, or light a candle and watch the flame. And think of how God gave you the ability to choose to be the saint He created you to be and the awesome power and responsibility you have with free will. Note, do not, I repeat, do not do this without your parents or trusted adult. Never play with fire. Never play with dragons. You don't want to get burned or overcook your steak. And until next week, I'll leave you under the protection of St. Michael the Great Archangel, St. Joseph the Terror of Dragons, and Mary, Queen of the Angels, Our Lady of Grace, and the woman whose seed crushed the head of the dragon.
That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God created you to be.
Hey, parents and kids. We have a special treat for our Training Guild members this week. Check your Training Guild email for a sneak peek of the new image of the blue dragon, Chaudhara, drawn and colored by my daughter, Lady Hannah, and my son, Sir Isaiah. This is probably the coolest looking dragon ever. I'm just saying, has lightning in the wings. You can get the Training Guild emails for free by registering at extraordinarymission.com/dragonslayers. And remember, listen to Catholic Sprouts every day, including Saturdays with Sir Roland.
This podcast is part of the Spoke Street Network. For more great podcasts, visit spokestreet.com.